Welcome to a reading with a commentary of Halfdan the Black's Saga. I'm reading my own translation from Norse to English. For people who haven't seen my translation videos of Heimskringla Saga, just a quick word that this translation hasn't been meant for publication. It's kind of out of my own interest, and also that I was intrigued by the idea of focusing more on keeping maybe some of the color of the original by making a little bit more literal translation than you would ever publish. So the language is maybe not so elegant always, but I think it's interesting to keep many of the terms in the original Norse, terms that still you will find in Scandinavian languages in use, many of them. Before I start, also I want to remind people, and for new viewers, to inform them that I have a complete genealogy that is following my work with the translation, where all names that are mentioned in the complete Heimskringla will be plotted in. So the genealogy for Heimskringla Saga is complete, and I'm now updating it as I go along with Halfdan the Black's Saga. It's a really good resource because a lot of the conflicts between parts in the sagas are dependent upon familial relations. If I say anything that people disagree with in my translation, or there's things I miss or misunderstand, or things you want to pitch in with, please comment. I'll always try to get back to the comments. And let's get into it. Halfdan the Black Saga. Halfdan the Black's Saga. Halfdan comes to arms with Gandalf and Sigtrygg. Halfdan was 1 winter old when his father fell. His mother Åsa went with him west to Agder and immediately took rule over the lands that Harald, her father, had owned. That was Harald Redbeard, who was the king of Agder, the southernmost province of Norway, and very rich in Iron Age, Bronze Age, Viking Age finds. You also have very, very ancient finds there, of cultural finds. So after Åsa had organized the murder of Halfdan's father, her husband, Gudrud, Hunter King, she escapes into her own hereditary kingdom. Halfdan grew up there and quickly grew large and strong and black-haired. He was called Halfdan the Black. He was 18 years old when he took kingship of Agder. He then quickly went to Vestfold and divided that kingdom with Olaf, his brother. Vestfold, I'll be repeating some things that people who have seen my videos on the Heimskringla Saga will know about. So please bear with me, I'll try to be quick, but for new people, Vestfold was a petty kingdom in the west of Oslofjord, going south from approximately where Drammen and Drammensfjorden are now, and going over Larvik, Tønsberg, down to Stavern, and almost approximately to where Breivik is today. The same autumn he went with an army to Vingulmark to hold battle with King Gandalf, and they had many battles, and both sides claimed victories. In the end, they settled that Halfdan was to have the half of Vingulmark that his father Gudrud previously had held. And so Vingulmark is the area going north from Vestfold on the west side, so from approximately Drammen, north around what is today Oslo, and down on the east side through Ski, Moss, and down to Fredrikstad, which wouldn't have been called that. Fredrikstad is a later Danish name under the Danish king Frederick. So the river Glomma, which comes out there. And Gandalf, King Gandalf and his family, they ruled traditionally into Vingulmark, but with their base in Ranarike or Alfheim, which was south of Vingulmark on the east side, going down to Götaelv in what is modern day Sweden. The Norwegian areas went down to that area in that time. And what Halfdan is doing here, which we'll see later as well, is he's gradually re-establishing his great-great-grandfather's kingdom, Halfdan Whiteleg, when he came over from Sweden and Solør, and conquered large areas of eastern Norway. So he's re-establishing this. After that, King Halfdan went up into Ranarike and conquered it. King Sigtrygg, the son of King Eystein, learned of this. He had his seat in Hedmark and had previously conquered Ranarike. Ranarike is east of Oslo, going north from Vingulmark and northeast into those areas. So where you would have Lillestrøm, Fetsund, north from there today. It's a very old kingdom. King Sigtrygg then went with an army against King Halfdan, and there was a great battle. And Halfdan was victorious. When the fleeing started, King Sigtrygg was struck with an arrow under his left hand, and he fell there. After this, Halfdan conquered all of Ranarike. Another son of King Eystein was called Eystein. He was brother to King Sigtrygg, and he was king over Hedmark. When King Halfdan had left for Vestfold, King Eystein went with his army to Ranarike and conquered it. So Hedmark is the areas going north and east again of Ranarike. Battle between Halfdan and Eystein. Halfdan the Black heard that there was strife in Ranarike. He then raised an army and went to Ranarike to hold battle with King Eystein. They held battle and Halfdan was victorious, while Eystein fled into Hedmark. King Halfdan then chased him with his army into Hedmark, and there was a second battle. And Halfdan was victorious, while Eystein fled north into the dales of Gudbrandhasje. So the path Eystein is gradually fleeing is going on the east side of Lake Mjøsa, from Ranarike, being pushed north into Hedmark, which would be the Hedmark areas on the east side of Lake Mjøsa, which would be his hereditary areas. And then Halfdan keeps pushing him out of Hedmark, and he has to escape all the way up into the dales where Gudbrandhasje rules. These are what's called the Gudbrandsdalen, or the Gudbrandsdale today. And they go from Lillehammer at the north end of Mjøsa, going north to Dovre. Oh, it's a very long valley, beautiful valley. You come north there, you have mountains on the sides, and very, very beautiful. These are my where these areas around Mjøsa are my local areas, where I grew up. And Gudbrandsdalen, Gudbrandhasje, his title is Hasje. The legend or story in the legendary sagas is that his forefather, which originally rejected the name king, while others called themselves king of Ranarike, king of Ringerike, king of all the different petty kingdoms. The king of the Dales rejected the king's name and took the king name of Earl, lower. He rejected calling himself a king. And then at a later generation, a descendant of him rejected the name of Earl. It was too fancy, and he called himself Hasje, which is a chieftain name but lower than Earl. But in reality, the Hashes of the Gudbrandsdal were very powerful and the same as earls. In later times and in earlier times, the same as petty kings. So Eystein fled north into the dales of Gudbrand Hasje. He strengthened his army there and went to Hedmark when winter came. He came upon Halfdan the Black on the great island that lies in Lake Mjøsa. And it doesn't say the name of the island. I'm quite sure this is what we call Helgøya. It's a very beautiful, large island, very important island in Lake Mjøsa. And has old, important farms. You have Hovinsholm, large, beautiful, very old farm with an old name, Hov, some Hov in Norse, which was a sacred place of ritual. And the farm is called after that, so quite likely there was a ritual, like a pagan church there. And generally many of the farm names going on both sides of Lake Mjøsa are old, like Iron Age and older. So these are old kingdoms. They held battle there. Many people fell on both sides, and Halfdan was victorious. There fell Guttorm, the son of Gudbrand Hasje, who is thought to be the most promising manfolk in Uppland. Eystein again fled north into the dales and sent Halvard Skalk, his frende, to seek out Halfdan and pursue a settlement. Frende, here I'm not translating it, just keeping the original name. It's a very familiar term in English as well. It means something slightly different. Frende is blood relation, going out to usually about fourth or fifth cousin. So close relations in blood. And sent Halvard Skalk, his frende, to seek out Halfdan and pursue a settlement. On the basis of their friendskap, King Halfdan then gave King Eystein half of Hedmark, as their friends previously had divided it. So again Halfdan the Black is re-establishing Halfdan Whiteleg's kingdom, because if you've seen my videos in VIKING SAGAS, Halfdan Whiteleg, he comes from Solør, he conquers Uppland and divides it with Eystein Hardruler, who's the ancestor of this Eystein, and Halfdan the Black. Eystein Hardruler divided, Halfdan Whiteleg divided with Eystein Hardruler. And Eystein is descended from Eystein Hardruler. Halfdan the Black, his great-great-grandfather is Halfdan Whiteleg, so he's also a direct descendant. So instead of conquering it all, Halfdan the Black is building his old kingdom. He's conquering with force, but he's still showing some wisdom. I would say that he's only conquering the old, what he has a legal claim to. So he's going about it with a good portion of wisdom. Halfdan claimed Toten and the lands called Land, and also acquired Hadeland. He was then a powerful king. So again, the same lands that Halfdan Whiteleg claimed. And Land, which isn't mentioned specifically in VIKING SAGAS, these are the areas when you come. Toten is south of Gjøvik on the west side of Lake Mjøsa. And then going south from there you come to Hadeland, which reaches almost to Oslo. Reaches to the forests north of Oslo. And to the north of Hadeland you have Land. Today it's called Søndre Land and Nordre Land. And these are areas on the northern part of Randsfjorden. And going up all the way to the beginning of Valdres. There's a divide, very specific geographical divide, which is called the Høljarast, which divides Valdres and Land. It's like a sharp, tiny canyon, and it's also an important place. There's loads of old rock carvings there. That's why it's called Höljarast, which comes from helleristning, which means rock carving. So these were the areas he acquired. He was then a powerful king. Halfdan the Black's marriage. Halfdan the Black was married to a woman called Ragnhild, the daughter of Harald Goldbeard. He was the king of Sogn. Sogn are all the areas around Sognefjorden and its branches, the small fjords branching out of Sognefjord. It's the largest fjord, deepest fjord in Norway. Incredibly beautiful. They had a son that King Harald gave his name to, and the boy was raised in Sogn with King Harald, his father. Again, I'm just using a quite literal translation because family relations are so important in the sagas. And in all Scandinavian languages, we still use these terms instead of just saying grandpa, grandma, which we also can say. But usually we would also say mother, father, or father, father, mother, mother, father, mother, and morfar, farfar. And here is morfar, mother, father. But as Harald was old and weak, he had no sons. He then gave his daughter's son his kingdom and let him be taken king. Not long after, Harald Goldbeard passed away. The same winter, his daughter Ragnhild passed away. And later during the spring, young King Harald died the illness death in Sogn. He was 10 winters old. And for people who haven't seen the other saga translation, the illness death is because in the sagas they specify when you die the natural death, and it's called sottedaud, sottedød, and this is illness death, die from natural causes or illness. Once Halfdan heard of his death, he started moving with a large army north to Sogn. He was warmly welcomed there. He spoke his claim to the inheritance of the kingdoms of his son, and no one opposed him. He then acquired that kingdom. Atle Jarl the Narrow of Gaular then arrived. Gaular is in Holmedal. It's in a smaller fjord branching out of Sunnfjord, Dalsfjord, out of Sunnfjord. He was a friend of King Harald, and I'm guessing that they're now meaning the older Harald, King Harald Goldbeard. The king set Atle Jarl to manage Sognefylke, to judge according to the land law and raise taxes. Now Sognefylke they use the word fylke now for when King Halfdan the Black sets Atle Jarl to manage it, because now it's not a kingdom, it's a fylke, part of a kingdom. Fylke is like a unit within a larger whole. And it's also used, for example, by the Norse to explain various military formations. So, for example, svinefylking is when you attack with a wedge shape. Svin means pig, and attack with a wedge shape, it's called svinefylking. And yeah, when a part of a kingdom, larger, under the kingdom, the next kind of hierarchical geographical unit is a fylke. So here Sognefylke is, so after it becomes part of King Halfdan the Black's United Kingdom, it becomes a fylke with the earl managing it. Yeah. His kingdom is quite large now. He's controlling most of what Halfdan Whiteleg originally conquered in eastern Norway, large parts of Norway, a sizable portion of Hedmark and Uppland, and then Vingulmark, probably the west side, not going down the east side where Eystein's family would still be ruling, but he's kind of controlling like the west and north side of Lake Mjøsa, going over the forest down into on the west side of what is today Oslo, controlling this down into Vestfold, following the coast, and controlling down to Agder, all the way to the complete southern part of Norway. And then he controls Sogn fylke. So he has quite an extensive kingdom now, already this early. Anyway, I think that was that. 3 chapters of Halfdan Saga for this time. And again, if you have any comments, things that should be different, or things to contribute with, or anything, write in the comments and I'll try to answer. And again, there's a link to the genealogy document in the description. And yeah, if this content interests you, please subscribe, and see you for another video, hopefully.